Revelation 2824. From the 25th of July 1943. Knowledge of the connection of spiritual forces with the human being. The connection between the spiritual forces and the human being is beyond his knowledge as long as he defends himself against the continuation of life after death. As soon as he believes his life to end with the death of the body, it is impossible for these forces to make themselves known to him, for their working requires an opening of oneself, that is, an acknowledgement of these forces and the willingness to be flowed through by them. Therefore, belief in them is a prerequisite, and this is only the consequence of the belief in the survival of the soul. The knowledge of the primordial beginning and final goal of the created is therefore necessary, just as the human being cannot believe like a child what he is taught about it. The constantly loving human being will undoubtedly have this faith because the Spirit from God can work in him and guide his thinking onto the right path. Everything will be understandable to him which seems unacceptable to other people. He is unconsciously in contact with God, and even if he lacks direct knowledge he will usually feel right and think right. But people who stand apart from God, because they stand apart from love, seek to fathom nature, that is, the visible creations, in an exploratory way, and their research only covers the period of their earthly existence. For them everything ceases to be as soon as it disintegrates into itself, thus matter dissolves. And thus they also regard the crown of creation, the human being, as a temporarily limited creation whose existence only lasts as long as the body is visible on earth. They know that he is but not why he is. They know nothing about the primordial beginning and the goal of this work of creation, and without this knowledge it is difficult for them to believe in the survival of the soul. They could certainly come to it through serious thought, but they lack the will to penetrate the pure truth. They are content with a knowledge that has many gaps and refrain from filling these gaps themselves. Rather, they build a wall of defense around themselves against mental influences. They close themselves off to the work of those forces which could guide them into truth if a people were willing. They deny every connection with the spiritual world and reject every instruction coming from there without testing the effectiveness of these teachings. They lack faith in the God of love, wisdom and omnipotence. Consequently all faith in a connection between created things and their Creator. And only the belief in this allows all things to be recognized as purposeful and created for a purpose. This purpose and the final goal of all that is must be recognized, otherwise the human being will walk completely in error. The final goal, however, is the perfection of the spiritual being. The final goal is the state of light which replaces the state of darkness. But since it is always a matter of essence which is to reach maturity, the state of light must apply to this essence, which then also stands in supreme strength with the light. Every bearer of strength, however, expresses itself and looks for powerless beingness again to which it can communicate itself. Consequently this powerful spiritual is in closest connection with the beingness on earth to let strength flow to it. The beings which still have a bound will also accept this flow of strength and thereby develop upwards, but the human being, the most highly developed being on earth, resists it. It shuts itself off from the spiritual influx, for as soon as he rejects the giver of strength he cannot be the recipient of strength. And he will deny spiritual strength as long as the original beginning and the final goal and destiny of every work of creation is unknown to him. Amen.